Kalen stood tall, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword as he watched the princess from a distance. The princess, Aliana, was unlike anyone he had ever known. She had a grace that radiated from her and a calm strength that was unmatched. But today, as she walked through the grand halls of the palace, her face betrayed a quiet worry. It was the day of her arranged marriage, the day that would determine the future of her kingdom. Kaelin was not just a soldier, he was her protector, sworn to keep her safe from harm no matter the cost. Kaelin had been assigned to protect her since her early years. He had seen her grow from a child into a strong, intelligent woman, always with a sense of duty. But today, something felt different. There was a heaviness in the air. Perhaps it was the weight of the alliance she was about to form with the alien race that threatened the peaceful world she had known. Or perhaps it was the fear that someone might try to sabotage the marriage, for this union held much more than just political power. It held the fate of many lives in its balance. As Kaelin looked at her, his mind wandered back to the time when he had first met the princess. It had been years ago when he was still a young soldier and she was but a child. Back then, he had sworn to protect her, and his loyalty had never wavered. But now, as he stood guard at her side, he could feel the tension building, knowing that today would change everything. The grand hall was filled with dignitaries, emissaries, and nobles from all corners of the galaxy. The air buzzed with the sound of polite chatter, though there was a strange undercurrent to it. Kaelin could sense that something was about to happen. It was too quiet. It was as if the universe was holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable. Princess Aliana stood at the center of the hall, her golden gown flowing around her like a shimmering pool of light. Her eyes were fixed ahead, but Kaelin could see the subtle tension in her posture. She was nervous, he could tell, but she was determined to follow through with the marriage for the good of her people. She had learned from a young age that the weight of her decisions was always carried by the people she served. Today, she was carrying the weight of a kingdom. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the hall. It was a sound that could have been mistaken for thunder, but it was the sound of something far worse. The doors of the grand hall were thrown open, and in stormed a group of heavily armored alien soldiers, their faces hidden beneath dark helmets. The room fell into a stunned silence as the aliens moved forward, their boots clanging against the marble floor. Kaelin's hand moved instinctively to his sword as he took a step forward, his body tensing. The alien soldiers were not here for a peaceful negotiation. They were here for something much darker. The leader of the alien group, a towering figure with glowing red eyes, stepped forward. His voice was cold, commanding as he addressed the room. "The princess is our prisoner," the leader said, his words slicing through the silence. "Anyone who dares to stop us will be dealt with accordingly." Kaelin's heart raced. His mind screamed at him to act, to do something, anything, to protect the princess. But he knew that charging into battle now would only endanger her. He needed to be smart. He needed to buy her time. He looked at Aliana, who stood frozen in place, her eyes wide with fear. He could see the terror on her face, but there was also something else, something Kaelin had seen in her before: resolve. She was not one to be easily intimidated. This was her kingdom, her people. She would not let anyone take that from her. Before anyone could react, the alien soldiers advanced, their weapons drawn. They moved with a practiced precision, their eyes scanning the room for any signs of resistance. But Kaelin was already in motion. He stepped in front of the princess, drawing his sword and holding it steady. His gaze met the alien leader's, and for a moment neither of them moved. "This is as far as you go," Kaelin said, his voice calm and steady though his heart was pounding in his chest. "You will not take her." The alien leader's eyes narrowed, and with a flick of his wrist, he motioned for his soldiers to close in. Kaelin was outnumbered, but he did not flinch. He had faced worse odds before. He would protect the princess at all costs. The battle erupted in an instant. Kaelin fought with everything he had, his sword flashing through the air as he blocked blows and countered attacks. The alien soldiers were fierce, but Kalen was faster. He was a warrior, trained to fight for the ones he loved, and he would not let anyone harm the princess. But despite his best efforts, the aliens were relentless. They surrounded him, pushing him back, each strike growing more brutal. He could feel his strength waning, but he refused to give in. He would not fall, not while the princess was still in danger. Then, just as he thought he might be overwhelmed, a sharp cry pierced the air. It was the princess, Aliana. She had moved, her eyes fierce and determined, and she was holding a blaster in her hand. She had taken her place beside him, ready to fight. But Kalen's heart sank when he saw her. She was untrained, and the blaster was too heavy for her delicate hands. She wasn't meant for this kind of battle. "Aliana, get back," Kalen shouted, his voice filled with urgency. "I will protect you. You are the princess, not a warrior." But the princess shook her head. "I will not hide, Kalen. I am not helpless. I will stand with you." For a moment, Kalen hesitated. But then, with a grim determination, he turned back to face the oncoming soldiers. He could not protect her forever. He had to find a way out of this. With a roar, he charged forward, cutting through the line of soldiers. But there were too many of them. He could feel the weight of exhaustion pulling at him, his sword growing heavier with each passing moment. And then, just as he thought he might fall, a sharp pain sliced through his side. He staggered, his breath catching in his throat. Blood poured from the wound, but he gritted his teeth and pressed on. He would not give up. The alien leader approached, his face expressionless behind the helmet. "You are strong, warrior," he said coldly, "but it will not be enough." Kalen took one last stand, his sword raised high. But then the unexpected happened. The princess, her voice filled with authority, shouted across the hall. "Stop!" Aliana's voice rang out, and for a moment everything went still. "I will go with you. Do not harm him." Kalen's heart dropped. No, she could. But Aliana stepped forward, her eyes meeting Kalen's one last time before she turned to the alien leader. "I will go with you," she repeated. "Release him." The alien leader hesitated, studying her for a moment. Then, with a flick of his hand, he signaled for his soldiers to step back. "Take her," he ordered, "but do not harm the warrior." Kalen's heart ached as he watched the princess step away from him. He had failed her. He had failed to protect her. But as she was escorted out of the hall, he made a promise to himself. He would not rest until she was safe. He would follow her, no matter where she went, no matter the cost. The princess was gone, and Kalen was left behind, bloodied and broken. But his mission was far from over. This was only the beginning. Kalen woke to the sound of footsteps echoing through the cold, metallic corridor. His body felt heavy, aching from the battle he had fought only hours ago. His side throbbed with pain and his head spun with dizziness. But through it all, one thought burned bright in his mind: the princess. Aliana had been taken. The alien queen, Zalira, had captured her, and Kalen was left behind in the chaos of the ambush. He had failed her. The pain in his side and the exhaustion in his bones felt like nothing compared to the guilt weighing down on his heart. He couldn't rest until he knew where they had taken her, until he knew she was safe. He had sworn to protect her, and no matter what it took, he would keep that promise. As the door to his cell opened, the harsh light from the hallway blinded him for a moment. Two alien guards stepped in, their weapons at the ready, their cold eyes fixed on him. They had no interest in speaking to him, no need for words. They simply motioned for him to stand. Kalen did as they asked, his legs unsteady beneath him. They led him down the narrow corridor, each step dragging him closer to the unknown. The ship was vast, its halls endless, and Kalen could feel the weight of the silence pressing in on him. He had no idea where they were taking him or what they planned to do with him. All he knew was that he had to hold onto his resolve, to keep his mind sharp, and to wait for the right moment to strike. The guards stopped in front of a large door, and one of them pressed a button. The door slid open with a low hiss, revealing a dimly lit room. Inside, standing in front of a towering screen, was the alien queen, Zalira. She turned as Kalen entered, her glowing eyes fixed on him with a mixture of curiosity and contempt. The guard stepped back, leaving Kalen alone in the room with her. He stood tall, despite the pain in his body, and met her gaze without flinching. "You are awake," Zalira said, her voice low and smooth like the hum of the ship's engines. "I trust you are feeling better." Kalen said nothing, his lips pressed into a tight line. He had no words for her, no interest in her false politeness. All he could think about was the princess, and the thought of Aliana in the hands of this queen made his blood boil. Zalira's eyes softened slightly, though it was hard to tell if she was genuinely concerned or if she simply enjoyed the power she held over him. "I suppose you are wondering where the princess is." Kalen's heart skipped a beat, but he forced himself to remain calm. "Where is she?" Zalira smiled, but it was not a smile that offered any comfort. "She is safe for now. I have no intention of harming her yet." Kalen's jaw clenched. The queen was playing with him, testing his patience. He had been through worse than this, but knowing Aliana was in danger made his anger flare. "I have no interest in your games," Kalen said, his voice steady despite the storm of emotions raging inside him. "Release her now. I don't care what you want. I won't let you keep her." Zalira regarded him for a moment, studying him like a specimen in a laboratory. "You are quite the loyal one," she mused, almost to herself. "I find it fascinating. Most men would have surrendered by now, given the situation." Kalen said nothing, his eyes fixed on hers, unwavering. He would not let her break him, not now, not ever. "But you," Zalira continued, her voice taking on a more contemplative tone, "you have something that most do not: honor, loyalty. It's rare in my world where strength is valued above all else." Kalen's hands tightened into fists at his sides. "You know nothing of loyalty." Zalira's smile faded slightly, replaced by something darker. "Perhaps not, but I am willing to learn." She stepped closer to him, her presence commanding, powerful. Kalen didn't move, though every instinct in his body screamed at him to fight back. She was testing him again, pushing him, seeing how far she could go. "I have my own reasons for taking the princess," Zalira said, her voice cold and emotionless. "I didn't come here to destroy your kingdom, Kalen. I came to offer you something, something far greater than what you've ever known." Kalen narrowed his eyes. "I have nothing to say to you." Zalira didn't seem fazed by his rejection. "What if I told you that I could give you a chance to end this war, to end the bloodshed? What if I offered you the power to change the galaxy? Would you still refuse?" Kalen took a deep breath, steadying himself. "I don't want your power, I want the princess." Zalira's eyes narrowed, a flicker of something like amusement crossing her face. "Very well, but I will not release her so easily. You see, I have a different proposition for you." Kalen's brow furrowed. "What do you want from me?" Zalira's gaze became piercing, like she was trying to see deep into his soul. "I want you to join me, fight for my cause, help me overthrow the corrupt empires that have ruled this galaxy for too long. Help me build something new, something stronger. In return, I will let the princess go. I will allow you both to leave here and you will have the freedom you desire." Kalen's mind raced. The offer was tempting, but he knew it for what it was, a trap. She was trying to manipulate him, to twist his sense of honor. She wanted him to join her cause, to fight for her empire. And while her words spoke of freedom, Kalen knew that there would be no freedom in serving her. There would only be more war, more bloodshed. "I don't care about your cause," Kalen said, his voice growing colder. "I care about the princess, and I will not join you, not now, not ever." Zalira regarded him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Finally, she spoke again, her voice soft but firm. "You are a fool, Kalen, a fool who refuses to see the bigger picture, but I will give you time, time to think about my offer. You will remain here under my watch, and I will see if your loyalty is truly as unshakable as you claim." Kalen said nothing, his resolve hardening. He would never join her. He would never betray the princess. He would find a way to free her, no matter the cost. As Zalira turned and walked away, her long robe sweeping behind her, Kaelin's mind raced. He needed a plan. He needed to find a way out of this place, to reach Aeliana before it was too late. But for now, all he could do was wait and bide his time. Kaelin lay on the cold metal floor of his cell, staring at the ceiling. The dull hum of the ship's engines filled the silence, a constant reminder of the alien vessel that surrounded him. It had been days since Zalira had given him her offer, and each day had dragged on in a blur of pain and frustration. The guards came and went, delivering food and water, but no real conversation. He was left alone with his thoughts, which was perhaps the most dangerous thing of all. He couldn't stop thinking about Aeliana, about the way her eyes had looked when she was taken from him. The way she had stepped forward, offering herself as a sacrifice to save him. The anger that burned inside him was still fresh, but it was no longer the wild, uncontrollable fire it had been in the beginning. Now, it was a quiet, seething resolve. He would not let her down again. No matter what Zalira wanted, no matter what she threatened, he would find a way to free the princess. She was more than just a princess to him. She was the reason he fought, the reason he had survived every battle, every trial. She was his duty, and he would not abandon her. But how? He had been on the ship for days, and he had no idea where they were heading. No idea what Zalira's plans were. All he knew was that he had to act. He had to escape. Kaelin sat up, pushing the pain in his side aside for the moment. He needed to think, to focus. His mind raced through every possibility, every escape route. He knew that it wouldn't be easy. The ship was heavily guarded, and Zalira had likely planned for every contingency. But there had to be a weakness somewhere. There always was. Kaelin had been a soldier for most of his life. He knew how to find those weaknesses, how to exploit them. He rose to his feet, moving toward the small window in his cell. It wasn't much, but it offered a view of the stars outside. The vastness of space stretched out before him, endless and cold. It reminded him of the fragility of their existence, of how small and insignificant they all were in the grand scheme of things. But it also reminded him that anything was possible. If he could escape this ship, he could reach Aeliana. He could save her. As he stood there, lost in thought, the door to his cell suddenly opened. He tensed, instinctively reaching for his sword, only to remember that it had been taken from him when he was first captured. The guards stepped inside, their faces expressionless as always. "You are to be brought before the queen," one of them said, his voice flat and emotionless. "Move." Kaelin didn't say anything. He simply followed, knowing that he had no choice but to comply for now. His mind was already working, formulating a plan. He had been waiting for an opportunity like this, and now it had arrived. The time to act was coming. They led him through the corridors of the ship, past the same cold metal walls, past the guards who barely spared him a glance. He kept his eyes on the floor, trying to appear weak, disoriented. The less attention he drew to himself, the better. His heart beat faster with every step. This was his chance. He could feel it in his bones. Finally, they stopped in front of a large door, and the guards motioned for Kaelin to enter. He did, his muscles tense, his senses alert. The room was vast, dark, and foreboding, lit only by the eerie glow of the ship's lights. In the center of the room stood Queen Zalira, her tall figure looming like a shadow. Her eyes glowed with a faint, unnatural light, and her expression was as cold and unreadable as ever. "Kaelin," she said, her voice smooth and calm. "I trust you've had time to think about my offer." Kaelin met her gaze, his jaw tight. "I've had time to think about many things, but I won't join you. I won't fight for you." Zalira raised an eyebrow, her lips curling into a faint smile. "You misunderstand, Kaelin. I'm not asking you to fight for me. I'm offering you the chance to change the galaxy, to reshape it. All you need to do is trust me." "I trust only one thing," Kaelin said, his voice steady. "That you'll do whatever it takes to get what you want, but I won't be your pawn." Zalira's smile faded slightly and she took a step forward. "You're wasting your potential. You could be so much more than you are. Together, we could rule this galaxy." Kalen's fists clenched at his sides. "I don't want your power. I want the princess." "Ah, yes," Zalira said, her tone softening slightly. "Aliana, she's a remarkable woman, isn't she? So much like you in some ways, so loyal, so determined." Kalen's breath caught in his throat. He could feel his control slipping. He had to remain calm. He couldn't let Zalira see his weakness. "Where is she?" Kalen asked, his voice sharp. "She's safe," Zalira replied, her eyes flickering with something that could have been amusement. "For now." Kalen's heart raced, but he forced himself to remain composed. "What do you want from me? Why are you keeping her?" Zalira's expression darkened. "I want you to see the bigger picture, Kalen. You're too narrow-minded. This war, this endless fighting, it's all part of a cycle that can never be broken. I'm offering you the chance to be part of something greater to break that cycle." "I don't care about your vision of the galaxy," Kalen said, his voice low and filled with anger. "I care about the princess, and I will do whatever it takes to get her back." Zalira studied him for a moment, her eyes calculating. Then she sighed. "You still don't understand, do you?" she said softly. "You have no choice in this. You will either join me or you will die here. That is the reality you face." Kalen's heart pounded in his chest, but he refused to show any fear. "Then I will die, but I will never join you." Zalira's gaze hardened and she turned away, walking toward the large screen in the corner of the room. "Very well. If you will not see reason, then we will see how long you can survive without it." Kalen's mind raced as she spoke. He knew she was not going to kill him. Not yet. She wanted something from him, something more than just his cooperation. But what? "You are a fool, Kalen," Zalira continued, her voice distant. "You could have had everything. You could have ruled at my side. But now you will be nothing but a pawn in a game you cannot win." Kalen's eyes narrowed. "Then I'll play the game on my own terms." He turned on his heel and walked toward the door, ready to face whatever lay ahead. But just as he reached it, he heard Zalira's voice one last time. "Do not mistake my patience for weakness, Kalen. You will not escape this ship. Not alive." Kalen didn't respond. He simply stepped through the door and into the hallway. The guards were waiting, but Kalen's mind was already elsewhere. He had to find Aliana. He had to escape. He couldn't let Zalira win. He was already planning his next move. He would break free. He would find a way. And he would bring the princess home.